Hi, this is Ashish R. Bedekar, and welcome to my podcast, The ARB Show. I'm thrilled to introduce today's guest, Athena. Athena is a co founder and CEO of Big Rock Creative, an award winning XR experience company creating groundbreaking experiences for global brands. They have won the Producers Guild Award for Innovation, ARIA Award for Creativity, the award for Best VR Experience of 2020, Hermes Platinum Award, Augie Award, and she's also the most proud winner of Trailblazer Award by XR Women in 2023. With over 20 years of experience producing iconic events like LA Burning Man, Decompression Arts and Music Celebration, as well as Art of Change inaugural ball of President Obama in LA, she's transitioned to the metaverse to produce BRCVR, Black Rock City Virtual Reality, which is the official virtual Burning Man experience whose scope is unprecedented in the VR space. Athena has produced many internationally recognized social impact projects, and she has built a philosophical approach to guiding humanity to build a foundational fabric for creative collaboration in the metaverse. Welcome to the show, Athena. Look forward to hearing your views and 5 principles for humanity in the metaverse. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me on the show and sharing these ideas. They're very much still ideas with everyone. I want to start first by talking about what is the metaverse? You know, it's this word that people have been bantering around for many years, pretty much since Neil Stephenson coined it in Snow Crash. But it's really taken a stronghold since COVID, since 2020. And there's been a lot of talk like, what does it mean? And different people have different opinions on that. So I want to share mine. So the metaverse is a connected tissue of all the different ways we can connect. So it spans the physical and the digital world. And so far, most of our experiences have been in the physical world. But if you think about, like, I like to compare it to Burning Man. And that's something else that we're going to be talking about in this hour is that I've been going to Burning Man for many years and organizing the community at Burning Man. And at Burning Man, you have all these different groups, theme camps, art installations, art cars, and all of them have their little areas that they are, what's the word I'm looking at, that they are in charge of and that they build out and they make it their space. And when you're going around and walking around Burning Man, you go into somebody's camp and maybe it's steampunk and you get immersed in that world. And then you come back out into the dust and then you go into another camp and maybe it's circus and you get immersed in the circus world, or you get immersed in this sound camp or this art car. And so that's a physical representation of a metaverse where you have all these different universes interconnected by some network. For us, it's the dust. It could be a neighborhood, it could be a city, it could be a state, it could be a country. All of those have everyone's individual spaces interconnected. So when you think of a digital space, like VR chat or Engage or Spatial or AltSpace that used to exist, but was sunset last year, all of these are people's individual creations or individual worlds that represent themselves. We call it radical self-expression at Burning Man. And they're interconnected by software. And sometimes, and what's happening now, is that those digital worlds are also connected to physical locations. And so the metaverse, when I say spans the digital and physical world, it's doing exactly that now. That is what's happening. We are getting our physical worlds and our digital worlds connected, and then we can connect with other people in either the physical or the digital, or even both. And so that is the metaverse. It's this huge, grand word that encompasses so much more than the way it's being used by some people to just mean the digital world.
Got it.
Because
Excellent.
It's really both.
No, I think I really like the vivid, explanation which you gave. So just like when you go to a museum, you have got various art pieces or installations, and you kind of get immersed in that. What if that
Mhm.
uh, display was user generated, or you had people who created that? So that's an excellent and a vivid description. Fascinating.
And if you had several different museums that are in different places all over the world, and they all had digital representations of their museum and their displays, and then you go into a digital world where all of these exist in one framework, that is a museum metaverse.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, I'm sure the audience would be very keen to hear your insights about what you feel are the five principles, guiding which should guide humanity, when you're dealing with metaverse. So I'm really keen to hear them myself. Over to you.
Sure. First, I want to say that why there's a reason for us to have these principles. And, lots of people talk about Web 2, Web 3. Web 2 is the 2D interface internet that we have now. It's very much about going and getting information, sharing information, and sharing products. So it's been very financially motivated. It's all about profit. It's all about sharing information, but also making money from it. And we've left humanity behind with the current Web 2 interface. Humanity isn't really there. If you look at our social media, even, that is very much about ad generating revenue and less about the content that you're actually putting up. So we're losing that which is that connected tissue that makes us individuals and as a humanity. So one of the things I like to say is that we are a society. Homo sapiens are a group of Homo sapiens is a society. But in order for us to evolve to humanity, we must become humane beings. Human beings are humane beings. And humane beings have kindness, compassion, empathy. We care about each other. We work together for the common good. And the principles of Burning Man are not like tenets, you should do this. It's not like the 10 Commandments. They were really written as a description of what it looks like when we are at our best. What it looks like when we are, what we say is when we are burning. When we are together as a collective doing great things. And so that's what these principles are. They are actions that we can put into place that when they are all working together, then everything is coming along and working. Whenever I do a project and something's not working, I always go back to the principles and say, so what is not at play here? And I've been teaching about the principles for over 20 years. It's not that I need people to do these things. It just, if they're all in play, then we all get along better and we can all be better humane beings to each other.
Got it. Got it. No, I think what you said, yeah, sorry. So what you said essentially, is a very interesting observation, because when you talk about social media, right, it's very narcissistic and not at all social, right? It's all about me trying to create a face persona about how great I am, or something which is unachievable, unattainable, right? And trying to have a fake person or fake mask for the world, but you lose the genuineness of what it is. Also, I just like to draw a parallel is that when you don't have rules, and when everyone knows that there is a higher good which you want to achieve, and let's all be a better version of ourselves, great things could be achieved, right? A simple parallel could be like, say, hackathons, right? When you have a defined goal that yes, these are the tools, you have to let's work together, and you've got 24 hours or a weekend, and there are no rules, but the only objective is to achieve something with those rules, with those defined hackathon objectives. That's the similar creative process which you are advocating. Fascinating. Yes. Please continue.
Yeah, that's very true. And I love hackathons. That energy, that creative, collaborative energy that you have at hackathons, you also feel at Burning Man. And it's invigorating. So yes, I agree with you completely. So my favorite Burning Man principle is communal efforts. So communal effort says is you should build things bigger than you should create things bigger than you can build yourself, because it invites other people in to build it with you. And communal effort invites participation. So participation is also one of the principles. So you have communal effort and you have participation. And when you are building something really big that you can't build yourself, so that's why the art at Burning Man is so massive, is that you invite participation and it causes you to be radically inclusive. Radical inclusion is also one of the principles, that we invite the stranger, that everyone has the invitation to participate. So that is a radical inclusion. And when somebody is radically included, they immediately are involved. And immediacy is really like this cornerstone piece of the principles of Burning Man, that it is our be here now. It is our being in the moment. So you're creating this big piece and you need more people to participate, and somebody feels radically included. And in that moment, what is the skill set that they are going to share with you? How are they going to participate? What is the need that needs to be met in this moment? It also means like get off your cell phones and be in the moment with the person that's directly in front of you and share that moment together. It is so bizarre to sit at a restaurant and obviously know that you're looking at two people on a date and they're both on their phones.
That's true. That's true. You know, that it reminds me of there was a famous cartoon which talks of, of someone saying that I saw a freak person at a cafe. He was sitting and did not have a phone and was just observing and looking at other people. So what a suspicious behavior, right? I mean, we are all addicts to social media and smartphones. Excellent.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that the metaverse, this big thing in the digital world specifically, are going to give us an opportunity to practice being our best selves. Now, that's a weird thing to say, because up until this point, the internet has been us practicing our worst selves. And a lot of people are afraid of AI because all it is a mirror of what we present on the internet, and what we're presenting to AI on the internet is the worst of us, not the best. But I believe that we can actually have the best of ourselves in these digital spaces. That if we are worried about, if we have social anxiety, if we aren't sure how to connect, the younger generations have difficulty with connection. Lots of them don't even want to date. They don't want to get into that possibility of negative interaction. And so they just don't. And then we have a lot of people that are neurodivergent, that have a difficulty with empathy, with connection. And being behind an avatar is a safe place. And you get to practice connection. And if we have these principles in place, then that practice has a format, has things that you can do to help elicit more interaction, more connection. So I think we can practice these in a safe digital space and then take them back home to us and actually evolve into humanity.
Got it. Excellent. So we covered around 2 principles. So what would be the remaining of principles for Metaverse?
So we've done 4 principles. I'm breaking them up into pairs. So communal effort and participation, radical inclusion and immediacy. The next one I want to talk about is gifting and decommodification. So at Burning Man, we have a gifting economy. And my company, Big Rock Creative, is actually building a platform right now. And one of the things we're trying to figure out is how do you give gifts? So far in the metaverse or in Web3 or in the internet, we've been transactional. And there's not a lot of gift giving. But what if we created an economy based on gift giving first? And decommodification is a funny word because decommodification means removing sponsorships, removing false value, these ads, and just having it be art for the sake of art. The gift, in order for it to be pure, needs to not require reciprocity. And lots of times we sell our soul for the promise of reciprocity. You know, like, do this thing for me and you'll get publicity. Like, well, okay, but like, then you have to add value to it, and then you're looking at a barter situation and the cash and it makes it messy. So decommodification keeps the gifting pure. So we have those two, and that's something that we're working on with Big Rock Creative.
Got it. So here just a point, just an analogy. So many times you come across street artists, or also called as buskers, right, who kind of entertain crowds in public areas with music, dance, theater, etc. And many connoisseurs of art or music say that that's a very pure form of art or human expression, because that is not necessarily done for money from a money perspective. But then, you know, maybe they just pass on the hat and people kind of give tips based on their interest. And many of the talents are found in such areas. So, which is great. But when you are looking at something which is scalable, unless you have a monetary incentive for people to get into scheme of things, or even to get big business involved, then you might have a problem. So how do you reconcile with that fact that, you know, if it is purely a gift-based effort, you may not get the big businesses involved?
Maybe we don't want the big businesses involved.
Okay.
Humanity isn't about big businesses, it's about all the individuals.
Got it. Okay.
So if you get big businesses involved, then you're nothing more than a product.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And when we're talking about humanity, we're talking about large amounts of individuals coming together for a common good.
Got it.
And so then what you need to look at is, how do you make it sustainable? Well, Burning Man's been going on for 38 years, 39 years. It's pretty sustainable at that point. So this will be our 39th year. But what it boils down to is it costs X amount of dollars to keep this running. We have this many people that can come to the event. Therefore, every person needs to contribute X in order for the whole to happen. So you need to look at it from the auspices of communal efforts, not as this company is going to pay for this, but how can everybody participate in the communal effort of the platform happening? And that's how we're approaching our financial model, is that we're looking at, this is what it's going to cost to make this happen. This is bringing the social experiment into the digital space so the physical and the digital can exist together. And this is what it's going to take to be sustainable. And therefore, this is what the membership to it, we're going to call it camp dues, because that's a lot of times these different theme camps at Burning Man have dues that the members pay in order to cover the cost of the porta potties, or the sound system, or the fuel for the generator, or the transportation to get everything to Burning Man. And all these things, if we pool our resources, we can do more together than we can as an individual.
Got it. So, would I be wrong in saying that this is very similar to the open source concept, where no one,
Oh yeah.
okay, no one owns it perfectly, but everyone's free to contribute and benefit, right? Because even like in open source, right, big businesses can contribute to code, and that helps the community, enriches the community, and the big business also helps. So something parallel to that. I see your point. Great, great.
Even the principles have been open sourced. There have been lots of different organizations and companies who have taken these principles and adapted them for their company. What are they called? Their community standards. So like Altspace had community standards for the platform. They were based on the principles of Burning Man. Zappos has a company environment. Those are based off of the principles of Burning Man. Even Google has sort of a list of this is what it's like to work at Google. Those are also based on the principles of Burning Man. They've taken them and they've adapted them to best suit the needs. So it's a framework of which we can all work together better.
Great. Fantastic. So moving on, which are the other principles you would like to share?
So the fourth pair is leaving no trace and civic responsibility. Now it's not leave no trace, which it's leaving no trace. So all these elements are all actions. They're all things you can do. Gifting is an action. Decommodification is an action. Leaving no trace. And people are like, well, how do you leave no trace in a digital space? Well, there's a lot of ways that we leave traces. Obviously, there's single-use plastics in the physical world, and that's a problem, and the pollution in the air. But there's also the traces that we leave on other people. If you ever had a friend that you were going out and you see each other and you're like, hey, it's so good to see you. And they're immediately like, oh my God, so-and-so did this. And then there was that, and my husband and the children and they just vent everything to you. What is your emotional state like when they do that? They have now just left a trace on you, and it's not necessarily positive. And now you have to take that in. So that's leaving a trace. There's also digital traces. So if you come into a digital space and you're a troll, we prefer calling them disruptors, because every troll is actually somebody inside just trying to make their presence known. And that's the skill set that they have for it. They come into a space and they start screaming expletives and doing crazy things to try to draw attention, and then they disappear. So they're just looking for attention. So we call them disruptors, and we do what we can to make them feel like they're a part of the whole, and we want them to be present, as long as they look at these tenets and figure out where you fit. Where are you in this communal effort? We want you to participate. You're radically included. What is your radical self-expression? How are you going to express yourself? That's being disruptive. How can you express yourself so that you're part of the communal effort? And so we really try to get disruptors to feel like that they're wanted and desire to be part of the community. But sometimes, like we had this one situation where during the virtual burn, when we did Burning Man in 2020, it couldn't happen physically. We did it digitally. We had this beautiful temple. Now, the temple at Burning Man is this contemplative place where people can leave writings on the walls to say goodbye to maybe people that have died or their pets. Or maybe one year I said goodbye to my credit card debt because I finally got out of credit card debt and my school loans were all paid off. And I went to the temple with my, the final paperwork, and I nailed it up there and I said bye-bye, and I was out of debt. And that's what I said goodbye to. This past year, the year before, my mother had passed away. So I left a memorial to her in the temple, and then it burns. But we couldn't have that, and COVID was a year that we really needed it. So we did it in the digital space. And so that's what the temple is. So we're in the temple. It's this very contemplative space. And I get a call from somebody telling me that there's somebody snoring in the temple. And what had happened is this gentleman had come to the temple, and what we found out afterwards is he was sitting there contemplating, meditating, and he had fallen asleep in his VR headset. And he was snoring. And so everybody could hear him, and it was disruptive, but it wasn't like he was being a problem. And all we did was remove his avatar from the space. We basically sent him back to his home world. You go back over there. And so we didn't like kick him out permanently. We just sort of removed the disruption from the space. He was, and we call this a moopatar. So moop at Burning Man is matter out of place. So when you see trash on the ground, that is matter out of place. And it might be, I once found a pair of Oakley sunglasses on the ground. So that we call ground score. That's something that you want to hang on to. And then other times I found like a zip tie on the ground, and I used up zip tie or used up glow stick. And I picked that up, and that is landfill. That's going to go in the garbage. Wow. So you don't want to leave anything behind, and that's moop. Well, an avatar that's left behind is a moopatar. And so that's what we called it. It was a moopatar, and so we just removed it out of the space. Sometimes people will have their avatar in a space, and they'll be on a computer, and they'll walk away from their computer, and they leave their avatar behind. And you can only have so many avatars in a space. It's not unlimited yet, getting there. And so if you have 5 avatars in a space that only holds 50, that's 5 people that can't get into the space because these other avatars were left behind. So that is leaving a trace. So there are ways in the digital space where leaving a trace can be disruptive.
Yeah, and I like what you said, that if you are radically welcomed and radically included in the activities, it's also your duty to be respectful of others and be a civic citizen, right? I mean, that it goes hand in hand, because you can't have all the fun, be a troll, and express yourself that way, right? That's insulting and not respecting others. Fantastic. Great.
Well, and if you're going to be radically included, you also have to be radically inclusive. Right. It's not one direction. It goes both ways.
Fantastic. So what would be the final pair which you would like to share?
So we have radical self-reliance and radical self-expression. Radical self-reliance means that we can rely on our own abilities to take care of ourselves, and therefore have enough so that we can help others when they are in need. So that's radical self-reliance. And radical self-expression means that you are given permission to explore who you are to your fullest without any judgment. So at Burning Man, you can be a bunny one day and decide to wear a bunny outfit, and that's like your thing. On Tuesdays, we have Tutu Tuesdays, and a lot of people who would never put on a tutu find the communal effort of all of us coming together wearing tutus on Tuesday to put on a tutu. But I've watched this happen. It pushing outside of what your norm is to experience the possibilities of who you are. You get to fully express yourself and figure out what that is for you. My mother came to Burning Man in 2014. And this is after years of her worrying about me going to Burning Man because, oh my gosh, you might get hurt, or because the media tells you that, Burning Man, this last year, we were like cannibals in the desert, trapped, and oh my God, there was rain. We had a great time. If you talk to anybody that went to Burning Man, they'll tell you this was their favorite year. They loved the rain. It brought us together, really solidified us into that communal effort. We had to meet our neighbors and help them out. We had to take all the people that were in tents and give them places to stay that were above ground. So it was sort of adopted tempter. It was this, everyone gelled together. But the media made it sound like the National Guard had to come in and help us. And in honesty, when the shit hits the fan, we're the ones you call because we're radically self-reliant. We know how to work together with communal effort. We invite participation. We help everyone else feel radically included. We leave no trace. It is our civic responsibility to the greater good of the whole that all of these come into play. And in all of that dress, we put on clown noses and tutus and have a good time. So we're not the ones you need to worry about when it rains and turns our dry lake bed into a shallow lake.
Excellent. Thanks, Athena. This gives a great perspective. And thank you, dear listeners, for tuning in. Do subscribe, share, and like this podcast. Consider giving the podcast a 5-star rating if you like the content. Bye for now. Talk to you soon.